A human soldier was rejected. The reason left the galaxy speechless. The conference room on Pinnacle 7 Station was completely silent. Daewon Park stood in the center of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. 7 alien beings sat at a curved table before him. They represented the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Each one had reviewed his test results. Each one had watched his performance in the combat simulations. Commander Voth, a 4-armed Krellian with blue skin, leaned forward. His 4 eyes studied the human soldier carefully. "Corporal Park," he said, his voice deep and formal. "We have completed our evaluation." Daewon waited. He did not move. His face showed no emotion. "Your physical tests were exceptional," Voth continued. "You scored higher than any candidate we have tested in 5 years. Your combat simulations were flawless. You achieved perfect scores in tactical planning, weapons handling, and strategic thinking." Ambassador Hyejin Lee, the human representative, smiled from her seat near the observation window. She had worked hard to get Daewon this opportunity. Earth had been part of the Galactic Defense Coalition for only 10 years. Getting a human into their elite military was important. "However," Voth said, and his tone changed, "the Coalition cannot accept you into our ranks." The silence broke. Hyejin stood up quickly, her chair scraping against the floor. "What, you cannot be serious? He passed every test. He broke records." "The decision is final," Voth replied firmly. "We cannot provide details. This is a matter of security protocols and psychological incompatibility." "Psychological incompatibility?" Hyejin's voice rose. "He passed your psychological evaluation. I saw the report myself." "You saw part of the report," another board member said. "This one was a Velkari, a species that looked like tall, thin birds. Not all of it." Hyejin stepped forward, her hands clenched into fists. "This is discrimination. Earth will not accept this decision without a proper explanation." "We understand your frustration, Ambassador," Voth said, "but our decision stands. Corporal Park is rejected." Up in the observation deck, Lieutenant Ji-Ho Kim pressed his hand against the glass. He had served with Daewon for 3 years. They had fought together in border conflicts. Ji-Ho knew his friend was the best soldier Earth had ever produced. Watching him get rejected made no sense. Down in the conference room, everyone expected Daewon to argue. They expected him to demand answers. They expected anger. Instead, Daewon simply nodded once. "I understand," he said quietly. "Thank you for your time." He turned and walked toward the door. "Daewon, wait." Hyejin called after him. "We are not done here. We will appeal this decision." Daewon stopped at the door and looked back at her. His eyes were calm, almost distant. "It's okay, Ambassador. They made their choice. I respect it." Then he left. Hyejin stared at the closed door, her mouth open in shock. She turned back to the board members. "What just happened? Why is he not fighting this?" Voth's expression was unreadable. "Perhaps he understands better than you do, Ambassador." "Understands what?" she demanded. "That some doors are closed for good reasons," Voth said. He stood up, and the other board members followed. "This meeting is over." In the corridor outside, Daewon walked slowly through the station. Pinnacle 7 was enormous, a floating city in space that housed thousands of beings from hundreds of species. The hallways were wide and clean, with windows showing the stars outside. 3 alien soldiers stood near a supply station. They wore the uniforms of different species, but all 3 stopped talking when they saw Daewon approaching. One of them, a tall Krellian, actually took a step back. Daewon nodded politely as he passed them. "Good afternoon." The soldiers did not respond. They watched him walk away with strange expressions on their faces. Not anger, not disgust, something else. Something that looked like fear. Ji-Ho caught up with Daewon near the residential section. "Hey, wait up," he called, jogging to match his friend's pace. "What happened in there?" "Why did you just accept their decision?" "Because they had their reasons," Daewon said simply. "Reasons?" "They did not give any reasons. They just rejected you with no explanation." Daewon stopped walking and looked at his friend. "Ji-Ho, did you see how Commander Voth looked at me?" "He looked at you like anyone would look at a candidate." "No," Daewon said softly. "He looked at me the way people look at something they are afraid of." Ji-Ho laughed, but it sounded forced. "That is crazy. Why would they be afraid of you? You are just a soldier. A good one, but still just a soldier." Daewon did not answer. He started walking again. "Where are you going now?" Jiho asked. To my quarters. I need to pack. The transport back to Earth leaves tomorrow. You are giving up that easily? Daewon smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. I am not giving up. I am just accepting reality. The coalition does not want me. That is their right. Jiho watched his friend walk away, confused and frustrated. Something was wrong. Something about this whole situation felt off, but he could not figure out what it was. Back in the conference room, the board members remained even after the doors closed. They sat in silence for a long moment. Did we make the right choice? Asked the Velkari representative. We made the only choice, Voth replied. You all saw the psychological evaluation? The complete one. His abilities are extraordinary, another member said. We could use someone like him. No, Voth said firmly. We could not. Did you read Dr. Min's notes? Did you see the brain scans? That human does not process fear the way normal beings do. He does not hesitate. He does not doubt. He does not follow orders when he thinks there is a better way. That could be useful in combat, the Velkari suggested. It is terrifying in a military structure, Voth countered. A soldier who cannot be controlled is not a soldier. He is something else. Something we cannot predict or manage. You make him sound dangerous, another board member said. Voth's 4 eyes closed briefly. Not dangerous to us. Not intentionally, but dangerous to the order we have built. The coalition military works because soldiers trust their commanders and follow orders. That human, he trusts only himself. And after reading his file, after seeing where he came from, I understand why. Should we tell the humans the real reason? Someone asked. No, Voth said. If we tell them about his origins, about what he survived, they will only be more confused. Better to let them think we are being unfair. Better than explaining that their soldier is too perfect at surviving, too good at killing, too calm in situations that should terrify anyone. The board members looked at each other uneasily. He accepted the rejection very calmly, the Velkari noted. Of course he did, Voth said. Men like him do not waste energy on things they cannot change. They adapt. They move forward. They survive. Voth gathered his data tablets and stood. Mark my words, we will hear about Corporal Park again. Men like him do not simply disappear. The galaxy will learn what Earth already knows. What is that? Someone asked. That humans from certain places are not like other humans. And those humans are not like anyone else in the galaxy. The meeting ended. The board members left, each carrying the weight of their decision. Outside, the stars continued to shine. Somewhere on the station, Daewon packed his belongings, calm and quiet as always. And in the shadows, those who recognized what he truly was watched and wondered what would happen next. A human soldier was rejected. The reason left the galaxy speechless. The alarm cut through Pinnacle 7 station like a knife. Daewon was in the hangar bay, helping a maintenance crew repair a shuttle door. When the emergency klaxon sounded, everyone stopped what they were doing. A voice came over the station speakers. All personnel, alert status read. Talon 9 mining outpost is under attack. Vrax pirates. 50 civilians trapped. Rapid response team. Report to Hangar Bay 3 immediately. Daewon set down his tools and walked toward the tactical display screen near the bay entrance. Other workers gathered around it, watching the situation unfold. The display showed Talon 9, a small mining colony on a distant moon. Red markers indicated hostile forces. At least 40 Vrax warriors had breached the facility. Vrax were 8 feet tall with natural armor plating. They were brutal fighters who took no prisoners. How long until the response team arrives? Someone asked. A technician checked his datapad. 2 hours. Maybe more. The outpost will not last 30 minutes, another person said quietly. Daewon studied the display. He calculated distances, response times, and tactical options. Then he walked over to the deck officer, Ensign Taemin Kang. Ensign, I need to take that reconnaissance shuttle, Daewon said, pointing to a small, fast vessel near the bay entrance. Taemin looked confused. That is a combat-ready shuttle, Corporal. You are not cleared for combat operations. You are not even coalition military. I understand, but I can reach Talon 9 in 17 minutes. Those people do not have 2 hours. I cannot authorize this. You need proper clearance. Daewon looked at the young ensign. His eyes were calm but intense. Ensign, 50 people are going to die if someone does not help them now. I can help them. My orders are clear. No unauthorized launches. I know, Daewon said softly. I apologize for what I'm about to do. He walked past Tai Min toward the shuttle. The ensign moved to block him, one hand reaching for his sidearm. But something in Day One's movement, something in his expression, made Tai Min freeze. Please move, Day One said quietly. Tai Min stepped aside. He did not know why. His training said to stop unauthorized personnel, but every instinct in his body said to let this human pass. Day One climbed into the shuttle, started the engines, and launched. In the command center, chaos erupted. Commander Voth watched the unauthorized launch on his display screen. What is that shuttle doing? It is Corporal Park, an officer reported. He launched without authorization. He is heading toward Talon 9. Ambassador Hyojin arrived at the command center moments later. She had heard about the emergency. What is happening? Your soldier just stole a shuttle and is heading into a combat zone, Voth said, his voice tight with anger. Send ships to stop him, another officer suggested. Hyojin stepped forward. No, let him go. Ambassador, he is not authorized for this mission. And 50 people are about to die, she said firmly. One of my people is trying to save them. If you want to stop him, you will have to go through me. My diplomatic authority gives me the power to delay your response. Voth and Hyojin stared at each other. Finally, the commander spoke. Fine. Let us see what one human soldier can do. That is what I am afraid of, Hyojin replied quietly. The shuttle carrying Day One cut through space at maximum speed. Inside the small cockpit, he reviewed the tactical data. 40 Vrax warriors, 50 civilians. The outpost had limited defenses and was not designed for combat. He checked his equipment. 1 standard rifle, 1 combat knife, basic armor, no heavy weapons, no backup. It would have to be enough. 17 minutes after leaving Pinnacle 7, Day One's shuttle arrived at Talon 9. The mining outpost looked like a cluster of connected domes on the moon's surface. Smoke rose from several breached sections. Day One landed at a damaged airlock away from the main fighting. He sealed his suit, grabbed his rifle, and entered the facility. The inside of the outpost was a maze of corridors and equipment rooms. Emergency lights flickered. Somewhere ahead, he heard weapons fire and screaming. Day One moved forward silently. His footsteps made no sound. His breathing was calm and controlled. He found the first group of Vrax warriors in a storage area. 3 of them were laughing, searching through supply crates. They did not hear him approach. They did not see him raise his rifle. 3 shots. 3 bodies. Day One continued moving. In the command center on Pinnacle 7, the tactical team monitored what they could. The outpost's security feeds were mostly down. Long-range sensors showed weapons fire but could not provide details. What is happening down there? Voth demanded. Unknown, Commander. We have lost most camera feeds. How long until our response team arrives? 75 minutes. Hyojin stood near the window, her hands clasped tightly. She wanted to believe Day One could help, but 1 human against 40 Vrax seemed impossible. Inside Talon 9, Day One worked methodically. He found where the civilians were hiding. They had barricaded themselves in the reinforced cafeteria. Good. They were safe for now. He also found where the Vrax had set up their command point. They were using the main control room, coordinating their search for the civilians. Day One circled around using maintenance tunnels and service corridors. The Vrax were strong and brutal, but they were not careful. They thought they had already won. They were wrong. One by one, Day One eliminated the Vrax warriors. He used silence and surprise. He used the environment. He used every lesson he had learned in a lifetime of survival, and he never hesitated. A Vrax warrior turned a corner and found himself face to face with the human. He raised his plasma weapon. Day One was faster. The knife found the weak point in the armor between the helmet and chest plate. The warrior fell. 2 more Vrax came running at the sound. Day One dropped to 1 knee, aimed, and fired. Both dropped. He took their weapons and kept moving. 12 minutes after entering the facility, the security feeds in the command center suddenly came back online. 1 camera had backup power. We have visual, an officer shouted. Everyone in the command center gathered around the display. What they saw made them go silent. The camera showed a corridor filled with Vrax bodies, and 1 human, walking calmly through the carnage, checking each body to make sure it was no longer a threat. How many has he killed? Someone whispered. A technician counted. That camera shows 8. But sensors detected weapons fire in at least 6 other locations. Voth leaned forward. his forehands gripping the edge of the console. Impossible. One human cannot do this, but the camera did not lie. Daewon reached the Vrax command room. Inside were 10 warriors, including their leader. They finally realized something was wrong. Their raiding party was not responding to communication. The leader, a massive Vrax named Tural, ordered his remaining warriors to find out what was happening. They spread out, searching the corridors. They found Daewon in the main junction hallway, or rather Daewon found them. The fight that followed was captured on 3 different security cameras. The command center watched in stunned silence as the human moved through the Vrax warriors like wind through grass. He was not faster than them. He was not stronger than them. But he was more efficient. Every movement had a purpose. Every shot found a target. Every tactical decision was perfect. And his expression never changed. Calm. Focused. Like he was doing a job he had done 1,000 times before. When the last Vrax warrior fell, Daewon stood alone in the hallway. He was injured. Blood ran down his left arm from a plasma burn. His armor was cracked in 2 places, but he was alive. And the Vrax were not. He made his way to the cafeteria and knocked on the barricaded door. "This is Corporal Park, human military. The threat is eliminated. You are safe now." At first there was silence. Then someone inside spoke. "How many of you are there?" "Just me." "You killed all of them?" "All 40 Vrax?" "Yes." The door opened slowly. 50 civilians stared at him. Humans, Velkari, Krellian, and others. They looked at this one human soldier who had somehow saved them all. "The coalition response team will be here in an hour," Daewon said. "Stay here until they arrive. I need to use your medical supplies." He walked to the medical station in the cafeteria and began treating his injuries. His hands were steady. His expression was calm. One of the civilians, a young human woman, approached him carefully. "How did you do that? How did you fight all of them alone?" Daewon looked up at her while wrapping a bandage around his arm. "I did what was necessary," he said simply. When the coalition response team finally arrived, they found all 50 civilians alive and healthy. They found 40 Vrax bodies throughout the facility, and they found one human sitting quietly in the medical bay, his wounds bandaged, waiting calmly for transport back to the station. The team leader, a veteran Krellian warrior, approached Daewon slowly. "You did this alone?" "Yes, I have fought Vrax before. They are among the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy." "They were not prepared," Daewon said, "and I was." The team leader looked around at the bodies, at the evidence of perfect tactical execution, at the impossible victory. He had been a soldier for 20 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. Back on Pinnacle 7, the command center remained silent long after the feeds went dark. Voth finally spoke. "Now do you understand why we rejected him?" A human soldier was rejected. The reason left the galaxy. Speechless Ambassador Hee-Jin Lee sat across from Commander Voth in a secure conference room. The door was locked. The walls blocked all signals. No one else knew about this meeting. "You said you would explain," Hee-Jin said. "After what happened at Talon 9, I deserve to know the truth." "Why did you really reject Daewon?" Voth placed a data tablet on the table between them. "What I am about to show you is classified at the highest level. Your government knows about it. They approved keeping it secret. My government? Earth Command approved hiding something about one of our own soldiers. They did not hide it. They classified it. There is a difference." Voth pushed the tablet toward her. "This is Corporal Park's complete psychological evaluation. The real one. Not the summary you saw before." Hee-Jin picked up the tablet and began reading. At first it seemed normal. Standard personality tests, stress response evaluations, combat readiness assessments. Then she reached the neural scan results. Her hands began to shake as she read. "This cannot be right. These numbers. They show almost no fear response, no stress hormones during simulated combat, no elevated heart rate during life-threatening scenarios." "Keep reading," Voth said quietly. She did. The next section contained notes from Dr. Sora Min, a human psychologist. The notes were detailed and disturbing. Subject displays characteristics consistent with extreme evolutionary pressure response. Hee-Jin read aloud. "Neural pathways associated with fear and hesitation have been significantly altered. This is not genetic modification or enhancement. This is natural adaptation to prolonged survival stress. Recommend immediate classification and further study. She looked up at Voth. What does this mean? Natural adaptation to what? Keep reading, he repeated. The next section made her go pale. It was marked with red warnings and required special clearance codes to access, but Voth had given her access to everything. Operation Silent Morning, she whispered. I have never heard of this. Most people have not. It was classified 30 years ago. Your Corporal Park is one of the reasons why. Heejin read through the file slowly. With each page, her expression changed from confusion to horror to understanding. Kuram 7, she said finally. He is from Kuram 7. Yes. She set down the tablet, her hands still shaking. I thought that was just a story. A tragedy that happened during the colony expansion. It was real, Voth said. 5,000 human colonists landed on Kuram 7 60 years ago. They thought it was a mining world. It was actually a death world with apex predators that evolved in 3 times Earth's gravity. Hyjin closed her eyes. How many survived? When the rescue ships arrived 40 years later, they found 800 colonists still alive. But they were not the same people who landed. They had changed, adapted, evolved in ways that should not be possible in such a short time. And the children born there? They were different from the start, Voth said. Growing up in constant danger, constant threat, constant need to survive. Their brains developed differently. Their nervous systems adapted. Fear became a luxury they could not afford. Hyejin opened her eyes and looked at the commander. Daewon was born on Kuram 7. He was 6 years old when his family's habitat was breached by predators. He survived by hiding in the ventilation system for 4 days. No food, no water, completely silent, waiting for rescue. That is horrible. That was his childhood, Voth said. By age 12, he was part of the colony's defense force. By 15, he had personally killed 7 of the apex predators. When the rescue ships finally arrived, he was 20 years old and had spent his entire life fighting to survive. Hyejin picked up the tablet again and scrolled through more files. She found combat reports from Daewon's military service, the border conflicts, the defensive outposts, the rescue missions. In every situation, he performed perfectly. No panic, no mistakes, no hesitation. He is not broken, she said quietly. He has adapted. Exactly, Voth replied. And that is why we cannot accept him into the coalition military. I do not understand. You need good soldiers. We need soldiers who follow orders, Voth said firmly. Soldiers who trust their commanders. Soldiers who work within a command structure. Corporal Park does not do those things. He follows orders. I have seen his record. He follows orders when he agrees with them. When he does not, he does what he thinks is right instead. Talon 9 proved that. We did not authorize his mission. He went anyway. He saved 50 lives. Yes. And he disobeyed direct orders to do it. Voth leaned forward. Ambassador, I'm not saying he is wrong. I'm saying he is incompatible with military structure. He trusts his own judgment above everything else. Because on Kuram 7, that was the only way to survive. Hyejin was silent for a long moment. Then she asked, why did you not tell us this from the beginning? Would you have accepted it? Would you have understood? Or would you have argued that we were discriminating against humans from certain backgrounds? She had no answer. Voth continued. We saw what he was capable of during the evaluation. The simulations were not just tests. They were analysis tools. We watched how he moved, how he thought, how he reacted. He is the most efficient combat operator I have ever seen. And that terrifies me. Why? Because efficiency without fear is something we do not know how to control. The coalition military has rules, protocols, chains of command. These things work because soldiers have natural human limits. Fear keeps them cautious. Doubt makes them ask questions. Hesitation gives them time to think. And Daewon has none of those limits. Correct. He sees a threat, he eliminates it. He sees a problem, he solves it. He does not wait for permission. He does not ask for backup, he just acts. Hyejin thought about everything she had learned. There are others like him. Other survivors from Kuram 7. Yes. About 300 made it back to Earth. Most of them are too damaged to function in normal society. They live in special communities where they can help each other. But some, like Corporal Park, manage to adapt well enough to rejoin civilization. How many are in the military? Classified. But not many. Most military commands do not know what to do with them. They are too independent, too self-reliant. too willing to break rules when they think it is necessary. But they are effective. Terrifyingly so, Voth agreed, which is why we keep track of them, and why we cannot integrate them into the coalition forces. Hyejin looked at the data tablet one more time. She saw test results, brain scans, psychological profiles, but now she understood what they really showed. Not a broken soldier, not a damaged human, but someone who had adapted so completely to survival that he had become something unique. What happens to him now? She asked. That depends, Voth said. We rejected him from standard military service. But there might be another option. What option? The coalition sometimes needs people who can operate outside normal command structures. Independent contractors who can handle situations where conventional military cannot go. We call them civilian consultants. You want to hire him after rejecting him? We want to use his abilities in a way that suits his nature. He would not have a rank. He would not have a commanding officer. He would receive missions and complete them however he saw fit. That sounds dangerous. It is, Voth admitted. But after watching what he did at Talon 9, I believe it is the only way forward. We cannot force someone like him into a normal military role, but we can give him opportunities to use his skills where they matter most. Hyejin stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. Does he know about this offer? Not yet. I wanted to explain everything to you first. You are his representative. When will you tell him? Soon. But first, I need your permission to share these files with him. He deserves to know that we understand his background, that we are not rejecting him because he failed. We are rejecting him because he succeeded too completely. Hyejin turned back to the commander. He already knows, doesn't he? That is why he accepted the rejection so calmly. Perhaps. Men like him are very self-aware. They know they are different. They know they do not fit normal patterns. I will talk to him, Hyejin decided. I will explain what you told me, and I will let him decide what he wants to do. Thank you, Ambassador. She left the conference room carrying the data tablet. Her mind was full of thoughts about Kurum 7, about survival, about what it costs to adapt so completely that you stop being like everyone else. Later that evening, she found Daewon in the observation deck. He stood near the large windows looking at the stars. He seemed relaxed, calm as always. May I join you? She asked. Of course, Ambassador. They stood together in silence for a while. Then Hyejin spoke. I know the truth now. About Kurum 7. About why the coalition rejected you. Daewon did not seem surprised. I thought they might tell you eventually. You knew? About their reasons? I guessed. I've been rejected before. Not officially, but I see how people look at me. How they react when I do things that seem normal to me but strange to them. It is not your fault. What happened on Kurum 7, what you had to become to survive, none of that is your fault. I know, he said simply, but it still makes me different. And different does not fit well in most military structures. Commander Voth has an offer for you. I thought he might. A human soldier was rejected. The reason left the galaxy. Speechless. 3 days had passed since the rejection. The human delegation was still angry, but Daewon seemed unbothered. He spent his time walking around the station, helping where he could, waiting for his transport home. Jiho could not let it go. That evening he sat in one of the station bars, a place where off-duty soldiers gathered. The bar was dim and comfortable, with tables scattered across the main floor. Beings from a dozen species drank and talked, enjoying their rare free time. Jiho spotted a Velkari pilot named Talon sitting alone at the bar. Talon had been at the station for 2 years. He had fought in the frontier wars, the same conflicts where Daewon had made his reputation. Mind if I sit? Jiho asked. Talon looked up, his bird-like eyes blinking rapidly. Lieutenant Kim, of course. Jiho sat down and ordered a drink. They talked about simple things for a while. The weather control system, the quality of the food, the upcoming rotation schedules. Then Jiho steered the conversation where he wanted it. My friend was rejected by the coalition board, he said casually. Corporal Park, did you hear about it? Talon went very still. His feathers, which had been relaxed, pressed flat against his body. I heard. He was the best candidate they had tested in years. Perfect scores. And they just rejected him with no reason. Perhaps they had their reasons, Talon said quietly. What reasons? He is just a soldier. A good one, but just a soldier. Talon looked around the bar nervously. Then he leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Lieutenant, where did your friend serve during the frontier wars? Multiple places, border stations mostly, some escort missions. Why? Was he ever at the Callus outpost, during the siege? Jiho thought back. Yes, he was there for 3 months. He does not talk about it much. Talon's feathers ruffled. There were 50 soldiers defending that outpost. Raiders attacked with 500 warriors. The siege lasted 2 weeks. When relief forces finally arrived, they found 38 defenders still alive. The raiders. They counted 247 bodies. Daewon was part of a good defense team, Jiho said. No, Talon said firmly. I talked to a Krellian who was part of the relief force. He told me something strange. The defenders said one human did most of the work. One human who moved through the raiders at night alone, taking them out silently. They said he never seemed afraid, never seemed tired. He just kept going, night after night, until the raiders gave up and left. Jiho frowned. That sounds like an exaggeration. Maybe, Talon said. But I have heard other stories too, from other veterans. They all mention the same thing. There are some human soldiers who fought in the wars who are different. They move differently. They fight differently. And when you look in their eyes, you see something that should not be there. What do you see? Nothing, Talon whispered. No fear, no doubt, no hesitation. Just calm. Like they have seen worse things than anything you can imagine. Jiho wanted to argue, but something stopped him. He had known Daewon for years, and now that he thought about it, his friend never seemed afraid. Not during combat. Not during emergencies. Not ever. Across the station, in her private office, Ambassador Hae-Jin Lee stared at her computer screen. She had been trying to access Daewon's complete military records for hours. As a diplomatic representative, she had high-level clearance. She should be able to see everything, but large sections of his file were blocked, classified at levels far beyond what a simple corporal should have. Some files were marked with codes she had never seen before. When she tried to access them, the system simply denied her request. "What are you hiding?" she muttered. She sent a message to Earth's military headquarters demanding access to the files. The response came back within an hour. Request denied. Classification necessary for security purposes. Further inquiries must go through Special Operations Command. Special Operations? Daewon was infantry. He was not Special Operations. Why would his files be classified by them? Hae-Jin leaned back in her chair thinking. Something was very wrong. The rejection made no sense. The classified files made no sense. And Daewon's calm acceptance of everything made no sense. She decided to talk to him directly. Meanwhile, in one of the station's training facilities, a young human ensign named Young-Mi Choi was practicing her combat forms. She was fresh from the academy, eager and determined. When she heard that Earth's best soldier was still on the station, she saw an opportunity. She found Daewon in the same training room, stretching in a corner. He wore simple exercise clothes and moved through his stretches with quiet precision. "Corporal Park?" she called out. He looked up and smiled politely. "Hello, can I help you?" "I am Ensign Choi. I just graduated from the academy. I heard you were the top candidate for the coalition military. I was wondering, could you teach me something? Maybe we could spar?" Daewon's smile faded slightly. "I do not think that is a good idea. Please, I want to learn from the best. Just one match. I will not take much of your time." Really, I should not. But Young-Mi was insistent. She kept asking, her enthusiasm clear. Finally, Daewon sighed. "One demonstration," he said. "Not a match. I will show you one technique, that is all." Young-Mi grinned and took a ready position. She was trained in 3 martial arts styles. She had graduated top of her combat class. She knew she would lose, but she wanted to see how a master moved. Ready when you are, she said. Daewon stood 5 meters away, his hands relaxed at his sides. Are you sure? Yes. What happened next was so fast that Youngmi barely understood it. One moment Daewon was 5 meters away. The next moment he was behind her, and her practice weapon was in his hand. She was on her knees, her arm locked in a position that was not quite painful but completely immobilizing. 4 seconds had passed. Daewon released her immediately and helped her stand. Are you okay? He asked with genuine concern. Youngmi stared at him, her mouth open. How? What? I did not even see you move. You asked for a demonstration, he said quietly. I am sorry if I startled you. Startled? You moved faster than the sensors could track. Look. She pointed at the training room's display screen. It showed their positions, but Daewon's movement appeared as a sensor glitch. The system had recorded it as impossible. Daewon looked at the screen and sighed. This is why I did not want to spar. Training room systems are not calibrated for certain movements. What do you mean, certain movements? Are you enhanced? Cybernetics? No, he said simply. Just trained differently. He handed her weapon back and left the training room. Youngmi stood there for a long time, replaying those 4 seconds in her mind. She had never felt so slow in her life. That evening, Commander Voth held a private meeting with the other board members in a secure conference room. The walls were shielded against listening devices. No records were being kept. Some of the humans are asking questions, one member said. The ambassador is trying to access the corporal's full files. Let her try, Voth replied. She will not get through Earth's classifications, and even if she did, she would not understand what she was reading. Should we have told them the truth? Another asked. What truth? That their soldier scores perfectly on psychological evaluations because he has no psychological barriers? That stress does not affect him? That fear does not slow him down? Voth's voice was hard. That in our opinion he is the perfect killing machine wrapped in a polite, calm exterior? You make him sound like a monster, someone said. No, Voth replied. Monsters are easier to understand. Monsters act on instinct and rage. That human acts on pure, cold efficiency. He is not angry. He is not cruel. He simply does whatever is necessary to survive and protect others, and he does it without hesitation, without doubt, without fear. The Talon 9 records showed something, the Velkari member said. His brain scans during simulated combat situations. His heart rate never increased. His stress hormones never spiked. It was like he was taking a walk, not fighting for his life. Exactly, Voth said. Normal soldiers have fear. Fear keeps them cautious. It makes them follow orders because they trust their commanders to keep them safe. That human does not have that. He trusts only himself. He will follow orders only if he agrees with them. And if he disagrees, he will do what he thinks is right instead. The room fell silent. We made the right choice, Voth said finally. The coalition cannot handle soldiers like him, but I wonder if humanity realizes what they have created. The meeting ended. The board members left with troubled thoughts. And somewhere on the station, Daewon sat in his quarters, reading a book, completely calm. He knew people were talking about him. He knew they were afraid. He had seen it many times before. It did not bother him. Fear was just another emotion he did not really understand anymore. A human soldier was rejected. The reason left the galaxy speechless. The message arrived at Pinnacle 7 3 days after Daewon accepted the consultant position. It was broadcast on all coalition channels, impossible to ignore. A massive Vrax warlord appeared on every screen throughout the station. His name was Kurvol, and he was known across the galaxy as one of the most brutal pirate leaders. His face filled the displays, showing sharp teeth and eyes full of rage. Coalition cowards, his voice boomed. One of your humans killed 40 of my warriors at Talon 9. This insult cannot stand. I have captured a human research vessel. 200 scientists are now my prisoners. The command center went silent. Everyone stared at the screens. My demand is simple, Kurval continued. Deliver the human who killed my warriors to me within 3 days, or I will execute every hostage. I will broadcast their deaths across the galaxy. Choose wisely. The message ended. The command center erupted into chaos. Commander Voth immediately called an emergency meeting. Within an hour, the coalition board members, Ambassador Hyojin, and Daewon gathered in the secure conference room. We cannot give in to terrorist demands, one board member said. Immediately. We also cannot let 200 civilians die, another argued. A rescue operation would take at least a week to plan properly, a tactical officer reported. And the Vrax flagship is heavily armed. We would lose many soldiers in the assault. Everyone began talking at once. Plans were suggested and dismissed. Options were debated. Time was running out. Daewon sat quietly through all of it. Finally he spoke. I will go. The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at him. Absolutely not, Hyojin said immediately. They will kill you. Maybe. But 200 people will live. That is not acceptable, Voth said firmly. We just offered you a position. You are valuable to us. We will not sacrifice you. You cannot order me to stay, Daewon said calmly. I am not coalition military. I am a civilian consultant, and I choose to go. This is suicide, Jiho said. He had been standing near the back of the room. Daewon, please think about this. I have. Those people need help. I can provide it. By dying, Jiho's voice rose. How does that help anyone? Daewon looked at his friend. I am not planning to die. The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, Hyojin spoke. Officially, the coalition cannot support this mission. Sending you would be giving in to demands. Diplomatically, it would be a disaster. I understand. However, she continued, if a civilian consultant happened to take an unmarked ship that happened to be fueled and ready in Hangar Bay 7, and if that consultant happened to leave before anyone could stop him, well, the coalition would have no control over that situation. Voth looked at her sharply. Then slowly he nodded. I suppose we could not stop something like that from happening. I will come with you, Jiho said immediately. No, Daewon replied. You need backup. I need someone to pilot the ship and protect the hostages once I free them. That will be you. Jiho wanted to argue more, but he saw the look in Daewon's eyes. The calm certainty, the unshakable decision. Fine, Jiho said. But I am getting you out of there no matter what. Young Mi stepped forward. I volunteer too. And I know Ensign Taemin and 2 others, Sung-Ho and Bo-Ra, who want to help. Daewon shook his head. Only Jiho, the ship is small. Too many people will make it harder to stay hidden. The meeting ended. Daewon and Jiho had 12 hours to prepare. The Vrax flagship, called the Bloodclaw, was 2 days away at maximum speed. They spent the time gathering equipment and planning. Daewon studied the Bloodclaw's design, looking for weak points. He memorized the layout. He calculated probabilities and backup plans. Jiho watched him work. You really think you can do this alone? 300 Virax warriors on that ship. I do not need to fight all of them, just the ones between me and the hostages. That is still a lot of warriors. I know. Daewon, if this goes wrong, it will not go wrong. Jiho wished he had his friend's confidence, but he trusted Daewon more than anyone else in the galaxy. If anyone could pull off an impossible rescue, it was him. The small stealth ship left Pinnacle 7 quietly. No official record was made of the departure. As far as the coalition was concerned, Corporal Daewon Park had simply disappeared. 2 days of travel passed in tense silence. When they finally approached the Bloodclaw, Jiho could not believe its size. The Vrax flagship was enormous, bristling with weapons and armor. How do we get inside? He asked. Daewon pointed to a damaged section near the lower hull. That airlock has been breached. They patched it from inside, but the outer door still opens. We can slip in there. That seems too easy. It is not easy. It is just the best option we have. They docked at the damaged airlock. Daewon put on his suit and checked his weapons. 1 rifle, 1 combat knife, standard equipment. Remember the plan, he told Jiho. I find the hostages and clear a path. You bring the ship to the nearest hangar and pick everyone up. Do not wait for me. If things go wrong, you get those people out. That is the priority. I am not leaving you behind. Jiho, listen to me. If I do not make it back, you tell my story. You tell people that someone from Kuram 7 died protecting others. That is how I want to be remembered. Jiho's throat was tight. You are not going to die. Daewon smiled slightly. Probably not. But if I do, I want you to know that serving with you was an honor. Then he opened the airlock and disappeared into the blood claw. Inside the Vrax flagship, darkness and danger waited. Daewon moved through the corridors like a shadow. The ship's internal sensors had been damaged in whatever battle caused the airlock breach. That gave him some cover. He found a terminal and accessed the ship's systems. It took him only moments to locate where the hostages were being held. Deep in the ship, in a cargo bay converted to a prison. Between him and them were dozens of Vrax warriors. Daewon began his work. He moved silently through the ship, disabling sensors as he went. When he encountered Vrax warriors, he avoided them when possible. When avoidance was impossible, he eliminated them quickly and quietly. Each death was efficient. No wasted movement. No unnecessary violence. Just the minimum required to remove the threat. After an hour, the Vrax began to realize something was wrong. Warriors stopped responding to communication. Sensor systems went dark in sections of the ship. Warlord Kurval watched from his command bridge as red alerts appeared on his displays. "What is happening?" he roared. "Unknown, my lord," an officer replied. "We have lost contact with multiple patrol groups. Find the problem. Now." The Vrax sent more warriors to investigate. They found their fallen comrades. They found disabled systems. They found evidence of an intruder. But they did not find Daewon until he wanted them to. He reached the cargo bay where the hostages were held. The entrance was guarded by 6 Vrax warriors. Taking them down would alert the entire ship. Daewon did it anyway. 6 shots. 6 bodies. The sound echoed through the corridors. He opened the cargo bay door. 200 frightened humans stared at him. "I am Corporal Park," he said calmly. "I am here to get you out. Follow me exactly. Do not make noise. Do what I say immediately. Understand?" They nodded. "Good, stay together. Move when I move. Stop when I stop." He led them out of the cargo bay and through the ship. By now, alarms were sounding everywhere. The Vrax knew where he was, but Daewon had planned for this. He had studied the ship layout. He knew the fastest route to the nearest hangar, and he had already disabled most of the security systems along that route. When Vrax warriors appeared, he put himself between them and the hostages. He fought with perfect efficiency, giving the civilians time to run. "Keep moving," he shouted. "Do not stop!" The hostages ran. Some were crying. Some were too terrified to think. But they trusted this calm human soldier who had appeared like a miracle. Finally, they reached the hangar. Jiho was waiting with the stealth ship doors open. "Everyone inside." "Now," Daewon ordered. The hostages flooded into the ship. 200 people cramming into a vessel meant for 20. They would be uncomfortable, but they would be alive. "Go," Daewon shouted to Jiho. "Not without you. I am right behind you. Just go." But Daewon did not get on the ship. He stood at the hangar entrance as dozens of Vrax warriors poured in. He was blocking the path, keeping them from reaching the hostages. Jiho realized what his friend was doing. "No, Daewon, no." The hangar doors began to close. The ship had to launch before they sealed. Jiho had no choice. The stealth ship launched with all the hostages aboard, and Daewon stood alone in the hangar, facing an army of angry Vrax warriors. The warriors surrounded him, weapons raised. Slowly, they formed a circle, trapping him. Warlord Kurval arrived moments later, pushing through his warriors. He stared at the single human who had torn apart his ship, freed his prisoners, and cost him dozens of warriors. "You," Kurval growled. "You are the one from Talon 9. Yes. You came here alone. Yes. You freed all the hostages. Yes." Kurval laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "And now you are trapped, surrounded. You will die here, human." Daewon looked at the warlord calmly. "I did not come here to die. I came here for the hostages. They are safe now. That was my mission. And your life? You throw it away for strangers? If necessary. Why? Because it was the right thing to do."